Welcome back to another episode here. So today's topic is one I get asked a lot and I'm super excited to dive into because it's almost like a make or break in some ways. You've decided you want to sell on Etsy. What should you sell? Or perhaps even you're already selling on Etsy and you're considering making a pivot. Maybe things aren't moving the way you'd like, getting a little discouraged with those sales. So this video is not going to be sell this on Etsy now, because there is something to be said about that. Like, you can go to tools, find good keywords. What is trending now? You know, what was it? Like 2 years ago, I would have been like, sell fidget spinners. Everybody wants fidget spinners. Not as many people are selling them. Well, now guess what? 1 million people started selling them. People don't even want them as much anymore. So that's the reason I wanted this video, not just to be a sell this on Etsy, but because I also think there's a lot of depth that comes from going on that journey and figuring out what you want to sell. So today I'm going to give you 5 things to consider when you're thinking about selling on Etsy. Now, for those of you that are new, my name is Hutchings. I run 2 Etsy shops. I currently, as we speak, I am running those 2 shops. So I love sharing just my experience. I've done over 100,000 sales. I've been on the platform for 12 years. So I really I feel like there was a need for some really experienced advice on selling on Etsy. And so that's one of the reasons I like to make these videos and considering trying to turn it into a podcast somehow, but tech hates me. So we'll see if we can figure it out. Also, I do not have the capability to edit my videos right now. So as you know, if you've been around, I do these in one take. So it's very raw, very real. It's just what you see is what you get with me, okay? So we're gonna dive into these 5 things I want you to consider when thinking about what to sell on Etsy. First thing is your passion. This is a big one, especially if you're considering selling on Etsy as opposed to just trying to start a million other businesses, like, who knows, selling on Amazon, doing some service-based business ideas, what have you. Like, if you're considering Etsy, that probably means there's something inside of you that you're passionate about, that you want to create and put into the world, whether that's like a physical product, a digital download. And I know I'm still talking about, I have a supply shop. There's still supplies out there that you can sell, as well as vintage sellers on Etsy. But even then, I feel like vintage sellers, supply sellers, those are things you're still really passionate about. So don't discredit that when you're starting your Etsy shop, because if I rewind 12 years ago when I was working, 60 hours a week, nights, weekends, making 0 money, trying to figure out this Etsy thing, getting the shop set up and going, it is that passion that really drove me. And so it's like, if you're doing something that just doesn't resonate with you, that's going to be reflected in your shop. So take that into consideration. Now, I go through these 5 points with you, I want you to realize that this is like a holistic picture, meaning all of these pieces are going to relate to each other. And for you in your life, maybe some of them are more important than others. And so just take this advice holistically, apply it into your own life, what works, what doesn't, kind of like with all of my advice and things that I like to share with you guys. All right, so number 1, is there something that you're passionate about that you're just naturally drawn to, okay? Number 2, consider what kind of lifestyle that you want to have. Now, what I mean by that is, I know, when I started on 12 years ago, digital downloads wasn't even a thing. You could not sell on Etsy unless you had a physical product that you were shipping. Now, not only can you do digital downloads, but you can also do the print on demand options, where you design the thing, but then you send it off to a printer, so you don't actually hold any inventory. You could do shirts or mugs or hats or what have you. When you're thinking about starting your shop, consider what kind of lifestyle that looks like. Like for me, again, 12 years ago, I was in my early 20s. I was a college student trying to figure everything out. Something for me that was a consideration was, I can't think of the word right now. Basically, startup costs. I did not want to invest a ton if I decided to, start this business thing. I was doing a business plan for my entrepreneurship class, and I was like, oh, well, at the time I loved really big, fun earrings. Obviously, I still do. But that was something that doing something that was maybe a little bigger, a little more expensive to get into. That was my consideration. Now for you, where you're at in your life, maybe it's time, maybe it's money, maybe there's lots of different things to think about when you're going into setting up a shop. For example, like if you are, I don't know, like thinking about making signs, like do you have space for that? Is that what you want to be doing nights, weekends? Like all of those things take into consideration, like what kind of lifestyle, is this something that I can do after, my day job that I currently have? Or maybe I'm like a full-time stay-at-home mom right now and I need something that's quick that I can do in between nap times. Okay, well maybe like crocheting when I can only do like one hat an hour, maybe that's not the thing that I need for me in my life right now. Or maybe it's like my kids are out of the house and I have all this time and I can really like clamp down and do something a little more elaborate and time intensive. So just keep that in mind. Second consideration is your lifestyle. I should probably put my hair up when I do these videos, then I don't play with it as much. Okay, your lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have as you're creating this Etsy business? All right, number 3 is competitors. So this is an interesting one because I don't want you to be discouraged and say, oh, I can't do t-shirts. Everyone's doing t-shirts. Like, Lord knows jewelry is one of the most saturated categories on Etsy, but I still love it and do it. Like this is what I've been doing for 12 years and I'm going to keep doing probably, I don't know, maybe till the day I die because I love it. But when I say competitors, that doesn't mean look at the market and say, okay, what is something that doesn't have as much competition. There is absolutely something to be said about that. And then we can, you can break that down into kind of like niching down, like, okay, yeah, jewelry is super saturated. Well, what kind of jewelry? Maybe I can look at some things. I mean, this is just like between me and you, like I know in jewelry, men's jewelry is actually a really good niche to be in because there's just not as much competition, but there's still a lot of people searching for men's jewelry items. For me, even though I see those numbers and I know that would be something good to sell, it just does not, I don't get as excited about it. I don't find men's jewelry, and I say gender role, it's just fine. I'm like, you men, women, wear whatever you want. It doesn't need to be labeled. But by and large, like if you're searching for men's jewelry, it's going to be different, not necessarily, but like my big fun dangly earrings wouldn't fit as well into that category. And so that's something that I really love. And I don't want to give up just because the data is showing me that, oh, you know what, you should actually sell men's jewelry. You do a lot better. Because it's not, again, going back to like the passion, like this is what I love. It lights me up. So I kind of stay in that lane. So when you're looking at competitors, it's not so much like the category and how huge it is compared to what you're trying to sell. But I want you to look at your competitors who are, if you're thinking about selling a certain type of item, what are they doing that could be done better? So for example, if you come up with this idea and let's say you're like, okay, I know I really love making soap. I love bath and body category on Etsy. It's something I will never probably get into, but I love the people that do that. I think it's so fun and awesome and the different scents and smells and the bars are beautiful, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so you're like, okay, I know I want to make handmade soap. And maybe you even branch out further and just say, you know what, actually I'm going to do soap and dry shampoo or something. I don't know. That goes together still. So when you're looking at that, you go to some of those top shops selling those bars of soap, see what they're doing well, see if maybe you can find something that they're not doing. Maybe they don't have any, like you're looking around, kind of doing a little research, and you find out that there's not a whole lot of like kids soaps being offered. So maybe that's something that, again, if it still resonates with you, that your competitors aren't doing as much, maybe do that. And it doesn't just have to be like product specific related, like, oh, they're not selling this. It could even be anything like pricing. Like maybe your competitors are like you feel like way underpriced, way overpriced. Like there's kind of like in the pricing camp, it's kind of like you have bargain pricing, mid-range pricing, luxury pricing. And honestly, there is a market for each of those options. There are people who like to buy luxury. They want higher quality materials, more intention, and they are happy to pay more for those type of services. There are people who are like, I don't care, just give me the cheapest option, like those. So where do you fit? Do you see an area where you could, maybe no one's selling the luxury soaps, maybe no one's selling the bargain soaps, maybe that resonates with you. Whatever it is, it could be price, it could be like certain scents, it could be like certain colors, styles, like demographics, like there's a whole area. So just kind of look around at those competitors and see like, maybe they're missing something. Like, yeah, they're doing this, but they're not targeting this specific thing for bridal parties. And I think bridal parties would love this. It could be anything. Just really try to get creative and tap into the thinking outside the box mentality when looking at your competitors. So that's the third piece of advice I would give you for what to sell. Next thing, kind of sort of related, is something I called your competitive advantage. So what that means is, again, try to think outside your box and be like, okay, what are the things that I have within me, around me right now that give me a competitive advantage in this category? Now, I'll just use one from my own personal life. Right now, I'm thinking of pivoting within my jewelry business, still doing jewelry, but I have this really cool idea for a more niche down version of kind of like what I've been doing for the past 12 years. And I'm really excited about that. So I know I've looked at my competitors. I know there are people doing something similar, but because I have been in this industry for so long, I know like I have the capability to have like more variations, better packaging. Like there's a lot of things that are going to go into this particular new kind of like niche that I want to enter with my jewelry that no one else is really doing right now. And that's my competitive advantage. It's like, I've been doing this jewelry thing for so long. Now I can really focus in on this one area and like excel at it. So for you, it could be anything. It could be experience that you had growing up. Maybe you had experience welding. That's huge. Like welding is hard to learn how to do that. Maybe you had a random job from years ago where you were like, you learned how to weld, or, you know, you grew up around certain things, or even sometimes it can be like stuff in your network. Like, do you know people who know people or have access to something? Like, again, when I'm talking to this audience here on YouTube / possibly podcast, I don't know, like there's so many ways that this can look. What I want to do is just plant that seed within you, is to like really take a step back, breathe, like think like, what do I have right now? What is my life experience brought to me? What is around me? Do I live in a certain area? Like there's this company here locally that I look up to so much. They hand make headbands, like sport headbands, and that's it. Like they print their own stuff and that is all they sell is like headbands. I'm like, you can get a headband on like a sports headband on Amazon, right? One of their, I feel like, competitive advantages, I happen to live in an area that's like crazy, hugely known for outdoor recreational activities, like mountain biking, huge here. So this company, they've built this local company and they go to all of those. There's tons of races and biking events and they sponsor them and their names everywhere and they give away free headbands and it's out there. So like that's their competitive advantage. They live in an area and have been able to excel in that category because they're here. They're able to go to the event. So, I mean, like I said, it could be anything. Just really try to take a step back. The other little piece I would give you here is try to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Try to look at that glass as half full as much as you can. I know this comes naturally to some people, easier than others, but I don't want you to just sit back and say, I have no competitive advantage. I'm in this situation. I have nothing around me, because I promise you that is not the case. Sometimes our hardships can be the things that become our competitive advantage. Like so many of examples, I wish I could think of some right now where people like this really hard, terrible thing that happened to them ended up propelling them forward to do these amazing, great things and really live their like fullest lives because of that. So really try to look at every angle in this category, okay? So that's number 4, your competitive advantage. Number 5, and this is a really important one, and for those of you that follow me, you know this is not something I have done great, but I am working on now, again, going forward. Something I wish I would have considered a little bit more. I want you to think about the scalability of your business. So what that means is, again, let's just go to the crocheting hats. Don't get me wrong, you can absolutely make a killing doing anything on Etsy. Okay, I really believe that. It's whatever it is. Maybe you're doing hats. Like if it takes you an hour to make one hat, like just take that into consideration. Like that's totally fine. You can absolutely build a business doing that and loving it. But you just take a look at those prices. Like how much are you able to charge? And honestly, like you could charge $1,000 for one knitted cap. I'm not even joking, people. Like people are willing, like if they know, if you can really build that, like, why is this hat worth that? Like maybe you have like a whole kind of like persona around it, and people know like you only drop one hat once a month, and if they want that hat and they know you and they love you, like they will do it, and then they will wear it and it has your logo and they're like, this is a Cat Hutchings knit hat and I am willing to pay that because people know that, you know what I mean? Like really, again, outside the box thinking here. But whatever you're doing, just have a game plan on how you're going to scale that, mixed in with all of these other pieces I told you about. So mixed in with the passion, what kind of lifestyle you want to have, what are your competitors doing. Your scalability can be, you can still, it doesn't mean like, oh, you can't do knitted hats because it takes too long, or it can't be, I'm trying to think of other things that can be, you know, a little more labor or time intensive per se. Like sometimes like ceramics, I think of that, I'm like, man, that stuff takes like a really long time to make. But there are some I know of Etsy sellers specifically that are killing it in that pottery kind of like space, and they do like special limited drops and people pay a lot of money for that, and that's fine. And now they even have like teams and people that help create and design all of these beautiful pottery pieces. So just one more piece of that puzzle. I keep doing this circle in this, I won't even try to sing, circle of life. When you're looking at what to sell on Etsy, scalability is something that I just want you to keep in mind. Whatever you decide to do, how are you going to scale this? So with me and my jewelry, I didn't keep that in mind as much in the beginning, but definitely over the years, that is kind of like a pivoting turning point in my business when it went from kind of like plugging along, yeah, I'm making money, but once I got systems and processes in place and learned how, and started focusing on scaling, still in the midst of that right now at like, you know, another kind of like pivoting point. But once I put that a little more on the forefront, like, okay, how can we repeat this process? How can I teach this process? How can I do all of those things? That's when my business, I feel like, you know, really has ramped up over the years, when I kind of put that piece a little more in the forefront. So if you can do that at the beginning, you'll be even better set up for success on Etsy. So to recap here for you, when you're thinking about what to sell, think of your passion, think of the kind of lifestyle that you want to have. What are your competitors doing, not doing? Could you do something better? Do you have any competitive advantages around you within your network, your life, your experience, trials, you know, all of those kind of things. Finally, fifth is scalability. What does that look like going forward? How can you kind of scale this process down the road? So I hope you found that helpful. Please remember, subscribe, like, do all of the things if you find these videos helpful. Also, please keep leaving me comments, because that is literally like someone asked me this question in the comments, like, I'm thinking of selling something. What do you think I should sell? This is a great time. My channel's still small enough that I'm reading every single one of those comments. So let me know if there's a specific topic or question that you'd like, you know, just an experienced seller, someone who's been there, done that, currently still learning and trying to do the things. I would love to help you out with that. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.